We will call the May Livingston County Board meeting to order. And if I could have the call to order, roll call, no, not yet. We'll have the invocation by Father Adams of the St. Mary's Church.
Almighty and eternal God, please be with us this night as we seek to serve those you have called us to in Livingston County. We thank you for the abundance of the gifts you have given to us, and we ask that you help us to always maintain gratitude for these gifts. In a special way, protect all members of this county and keep them safe from all harm and evil. Today we need your wisdom to guide us in our decisions. We need your help to be open to dialogue with one another in such a way that we bring honor to you. We ask you to help us to seek the truth with charity, that we might always follow the example you set of putting others before ourselves. Most especially, we ask that you would help us not to follow our own will, but your will and yours alone. We thank you for all the gifts that you have bestowed upon every person here today, and that we might never use our gifts for our own glory and our own selfish desires, but for your glory and your desires. May we seek to make not your will one with ours, but our will one with yours. May you send your blessing down upon all of these men and women here tonight, and upon all those they are called to serve. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Father Adams. Now we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mrs. Gerwin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we have roll call, please?
Vietti. Yes. Bunning.
Present.
Slagle.
Present.
Ingalls.
Here.
Steichen.
Here.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Coleman.
Present.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Here.
Gerwin. Here. Lovell.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Arbogast.
Here.
Weller. Here. Gimbel. Carly. Holt.
Here.
Runyon. Mays. Here. Heath. Here. Weber. Here. Young.
Here.
Yoder. Here. Fannin.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Now you've got the agenda before you. Could I have, anybody have any corrections to it? Can I have a motion for approval of the agenda? Mr. Ritter? Mr. Ingalls? Any discussion? Okay, roll call. Or we voice that, don't we? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and the minutes are before you.
So moved, Chairman.
Mr. Bunning and Mr. Holt. Any discussion? All those in favor of the minutes as they're presented? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I have heard our former chairman say sometimes when he reads resolutions that it's a happy time. But tonight is not a happy time as I read this resolution. So if Mrs. Dr. Coleman would come here and meet me, I would appreciate it. Whereas Mrs. Coleman served as a member of the Livingston County Board from 2012 to 2017. And whereas during her term as a member of the Livingston County Board, Mrs. Coleman faithfully served on the Information Technology, Personnel and Finance Committee, as well as the Livingston County Housing Authority Board. And whereas Mrs. Coleman has been courteous and helpful to all individuals with whom she has transacted business, and this board, as well as the public officials and the citizens of Livingston County, appreciate the service Mrs. Coleman provided. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Livingston County Board at its May 11, 2017 meeting that we and each of us do hereby make this public expression of our sincere appreciation of the faithful services rendered by Kelly Coleman to the citizens of Livingston County during her term as a member of this board. Be it further resolved that this resolution of appreciation be publicly read in open session of the county board and spread upon the records of the proceedings of this board, and that the clerk be directed to present a copy thereof to Mrs. Coleman, passed by roll call vote this 11th day of May, 2017. So, Mrs. Coleman, we present this to you on our behalf. And I gotta say, when Mrs. Coleman came on the board, she was just kind of a quiet, shy little thing that didn't say much. But my gosh, she's grown into this, and she's been a force on the board, and she speaks up on her when things are on her mind. The Housing Authority is losing an excellent member as well, and I know she serves there very faithfully and did a great job for them. So Kelly, I hope the Peoria County Board is ready. And we appreciate everything you've done. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution in honor of Ms. Coleman.
Mr. Phantom, Mr. Ritter, I don't think we can just, what you okay? Roll call? Okay, roll call. Oh, wait. I forgot this. I should have known. Kelly has a couple thousand words.
I did have a couple thousand, but I thought Jack Vietti might shoot me with something. So, Bob actually mentioned to me originally that he thought it was funny my first year. He didn't really know about me because I was so quiet, and it made me chuckle. I thought that was entertaining. At my first meeting when I was originally sworn in, I remember specifically the chairman's comments for the outgoing people as they were leaving, and it really caught my attention. I remember very clearly thinking, what will they say about me when I'm done? And I sat down before the next meeting, and I wrote a list. What do I want to be known for? How do I want to be remembered? What's important to me? And I went back, I still have that list. And I didn't expect it would be this quick, but I'm glad that I made that list. I appreciate your kind words. Thank you. I can tell you that I sought to honor my commitment to the people and processes of the county government, and like anyone, I'd like to think that my time and efforts mattered. One of my big takeaways is that people want to feel heard, and they remember how you made them feel. Attendance, attention, and preparedness may go unnoticed, but people always remember how you made them feel. I'm grateful for every one of you here and all that you bring. I would like to acknowledge your efforts to be here. Thank you for honoring your commitment. It certainly doesn't often get celebrated, but it certainly does matter. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Vietti,
Yes.
Bunning,
Yes.
Flagel,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Steichen,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Coleman,
Present.
Kestner. Yes. Ritter,
Yes.
Gerwin. Yes. Lovell,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Carly.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
Yes.
Weber. Young.
Yes.
Yoder.
With pleasure, yes.
Bannon.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, Kelly, you've got some family here this evening. Maybe introductions would be in order?
Oh, crikey. Okay. My mom, Carolyn Copel, is here. My in-laws, Nancy and Jerry Coleman, are here. My husband, Mike Coleman, is here. And my 3 children are here. Max, my oldest, and the twins, Edie and Frank.
Well, at least that does answer where the kids got their better looks, so. If anyone, we will have an opening May 30th for Kelly's position. If you are in District 1, if you or you know of anyone in the Pontiac Rooks Creek townships that might be interested in serving on this board, they've got big shoes to fill following Kelly, but I'm sure we would be interested if you could either call me here at the county board office or that'd be the best way. So anyway, if you have any suggestions, please pass them on. Consent agenda, approval of the bills.
Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to remove some bills from the consent agenda.
Okay.
Sorry. I have 4 of them in front of you, members. I know they are paid already, but I voted no to ceremonial, say no to them, but
Okay, do we have those bills that are removed? You have them, don't you, Lena? Or do I have them?
Yeah, there's copies of them that are on your desk.
Okay. So,
Announce which one.
so those will be moved to sheriff, jail, and license.
Correct.
Do you have those? They're in. Yeah, but I didn't know if the people out here would know which one.
He should, maybe.
I'm sure it'll be discussed.
Yeah, maybe, so everyone out there knows which bills we're talking about.
Yeah,
okay.
just summarize them though for the record.
Oh, they are mostly gun parts, some a little bit pricey, a night scope. It just seemed a little bit odd that I really didn't get an answer for.
And they were paid from,
Any other questions?
Okay, well, we will move those to the sheriff, jail, and license, and there can be discussion then. And then we have appointments. Do we approve the bills now, separate?
Do it all at one time.
Okay.
motion.
Motion to approve the bills. Did you make that motion? Ingalls and Yoder. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yeah, no.
I have some noes.
Point of clarification, Mr. Chairman, are you doing the rest of the consent agenda?
Nope, we're
or
ready
are
to go
you
to the
doing bills?
appointments now.
Okay, so just the bills.
Just those bills, except the ones that Mr. Mays asked to be removed.
Okay.
And those went to the law or sheriff, jail, and license.
Voice vote,
Now we're ready for the appointment.
voice vote.
We have Chris Snyder for the Flanagan Greenmont.
Chairman Fannin, or Chairman Young, I'm sorry. We need to do a roll call on the bills.
On the bills. I would think so.
Okay, we'll roll call them then. Excuse me. On the bills,
Used to making mistakes.
And that would be,
we got a
Ingalls and
motion
Yoder.
and a second.
Okay, yep, Ingalls and Yoder is who I have down. Okay, Vietti. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Steichen.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Gerwin, Lovell,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Carly. Holt,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Heath. Weber. Young,
Yes.
Yoder. And Fannin.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad we went through that. The appointments, we have Chris Snyder, the Flanagan-Graymont Community Fire Protection District, William Flott, Zoning Board of Appeals, and Gerald Leering, Zoning Board of Appeals. William Flott and Gerald Leering are from District 2, trying to even up the Zoning Board of Appeals. They were, before, we had 5 in District 3 and 2 in District 2. I'd like to be able to see us where we had 3 in District 2, 3 in District 3, and 1 in District 1 for evenness. And this will give us a little more even between all 3 districts.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the appointments.
I will second it.
Okay, who was the second? Mr. Bunning. Holt and Bunning. Any discussion? Okay, I'd entertain we'll have a roll call vote on those.
Fieri. Yes. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Dyson.
No.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
No.
Weller. Gimbel. Carly. Holt.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath. Weber. Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Fannin.
Yes.
Okay, moving on down the action agenda, we'll have committee reports, and the first man up, Mr. Schaefer,
Well, thank you.
Chairman of the Finance Committee.
Well, as always, thank you.
Yes,
Mr.
take
Young,
over,
Chairman
Tim.
Young, bless your heart. What you have before us tonight, folks, is our auditors were here last go-round, did a good job, and sure enough, they came back, they want to re-up their contract for 3 years. I think we're grateful. For 2017, the amount would be $78,320. For 2018, $80,280, and for fiscal year 2019, $82,285. It's a 3-year deal with those respective escalations in those. They've been here for the prior period of 3 years. I would note that their final bill in 2019 is about $4,000 to $5,000 less than their predecessors were 3 or 4 years ago. So for someone who's served on this committee and has more contact with them than some others, as opposed to the prior folks, those guys were good folks, these guys are better, at least for us. And hearing any questions about this? Yes, Joe?
Has this been bid by anybody else, or did we just get bids from Mack and Associates?
It wasn't a bid, it was a submission of their, actually, it's just a submission of their proposal for a 3-year up. So no, we did not take bids for it.
We haven't let anybody else submit numbers for it?
We didn't ask anybody else to
Okay.
submit numbers for it. With that, go ahead. What was the first year number? 78,320, John. I'd motion that be approved.
Okay, is there a second? Kelly? Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Fieri. Yes. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Dyson.
Yes.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Gerwin. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller. Carly. Holt.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath. Weber. Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Fannin.
Yes.
Thank you. Only other business of note is really not for tonight, but will be coming around the bend for the next budget cycle, and State's Attorney is here, not going to ask him to comment on it, but the Children's Advocacy Center, most of their work centers around helping manage abuse cases. There's multiple funding sources. It is mandated by the state. Exactly how you pay for it is not necessarily mandated. Those folks were thought it would be beneficial in discharging our obligations under the state to add it as a budget item next fall. Those were committee members in attendance, thought that was a reasonable request, but there again, we're not in the budget cycle, so I'm sure we'll discuss that at length another time, but it sounded to those who was there, it was a reasonable proposal. And with that, I'm done. I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to leave early tonight. You put me to the front of the line. I thank you. My last Prairie Central Awards meeting.
Wow. Means you're getting old.
No more Schaefers.
Yeah, you're getting old.
Which is good news for most.
No. You bet. Have a good evening. Okay, thank you, Mr. Schaefer. We'll move on now to the Ag and Zoning Committee Chairman, Darrell Holt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While Chuck is on his way up here, I will give you a preview of coming attractions. On 6/8, after the administration committee meeting, there'll be a ZBA meeting out here in the committee room. I would appreciate any attendance there. They will be discussing the ordinance regarding windmills. I also want to let you know that, we've mentioned a couple properties. One was a Sun Trucking up at Cayuga, and the condition or lack of condition or what, lack of care that that property has got. There has been letters sent by Chuck to them regarding that, and they have taken steps. They're, I guess baby steps are better than no steps. So they have taken steps there to clean that up. Also made a trip over to by the river on Route 17 to a property over there where we've got several complaints. I think there's 3 or 4 complaints regarding that. And there was a rather lengthy letter about that and some pictures sent from Chuck to our state's attorney, asking him, I guess basically, how do we pursue this? So that has not been, there has not been any big effort that I can see to clean that up, but it is a mess, and if anybody wants to see, we've got quite a few pictures. Anybody wants to see those pictures. With that, I will turn it over to Chuck. And
okay, the one action item you have on your agenda tonight is a zoning text case, and this is regards to the Wex ordinance moratorium and the potential extension of this. This is the one that you reviewed a couple of months ago to proceed through the administrative process to come back before you to make a decision on. It has gone through the administrative process, and the Planning Commission reviewed it. The Zoning Board of Appeals held a public hearing on it. The Zoning Board of Appeals did recommend that it be approved with a caveat that they want to make sure that you as the county board had the option to approve it if you thought it was necessary to approve to move forward with it, because there's a lot of scenarios been taking place as to what's going to be approved and not be approved. They would have approved it before your last, made their recommendation before your last county board meeting, before you actually approved the zoning text for the first set of wind text amendments. And then the committee reviewed it last week. The committee is making a recommendation to you at this point in time to also approve this extension, which would be for 3 more months to go from June 1st of this year through August 31st of this year. And correct me if I'm wrong, but basically the chairman of the committee is kind of wanting this as a little bit of an insurance policy, in that when you have text amendments, there is a 90-day period in which there could be legal action filed for somebody to oppose that. And though you already have an effective date with the zoning text amendments, kind of acts as a moratorium with the 3,250-foot setback distances. Want some insurance that this at least buys a little bit of time in case there's something happens. As we all know, for the last 3 years, we've gone through a lot of different scenarios with those, and I'm just kind of trying to cover our base with all the scenarios, so.
Thank you, Doug. I recommend this as an insurance, kind of like you buy insurance, you hope you don't need it. And that's the way this is. There's a very good possibility we won't need this, but if we do, it'll be in place to protect the people that basically didn't want windmills. So with that, I will make the motion that we approve this ordinance or this moratorium extension of 90 days.
Is there a second to that motion?
I have a question.
Well, can we get a second?
Gotta get a second.
And then get questions? Mr. Yoder. Now, are there any questions? Mr. Kestner.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Holt, I would like to ask, where it stands now, how long does this moratorium go to? And this would add it to, what, end August?
The current one ends on May 31st.
May 31st. Okay, thanks.
Then it'll go to the end of August.
Mr. Chairman. Chuck, I got a question. You mentioned a possibility of legal action. What exactly would that entail? If somebody did file legal action, then what happens to the ordinance that's in place now?
I don't have a clue. I mean, I guess it'd have to go through and have to see what that action is and have the legal experts and attorneys look at it and analyze and see where it's at, so.
Okay. Well, I thought the whole purpose of our hiring those attorneys to sit in those meetings with us to discuss every item that we changed or didn't change, and then we talked about them. I got the impression from them that, I mean, nobody's ever rock solid, but I thought we were pretty good.
We hope so, yeah. Well, we hired them, but.
And I think we are pretty good.
Hey, it just comes down to, you know, we're in pretty good shape either way. I mean, really, we're at 3,200 feet now in the whole county. We're not gonna have anybody come in at 3,200 feet and try to build a wind farm. Until this text amendment would get passed by the ZBA and the county board for the northeastern townships, you know, 3,240 feet is the
3250.
3,250 is the distance. It's just, if you think anybody might come in and file some kind of suit, then you'd vote in favor of the moratorium. If you think we're well enough covered, then vote no. I mean, you know,
Even if there's no suit, this goes back to the ZBA, comes back to the board. I mean, there's a length of time that this is going to take to get it finished.
What's that?
These 7 things that we're recommending.
The second text amendment.
Right.
Yes. Yes, that's going to take several months to go through, yes.
So those things, until we get the final product, there's a length of time, that's the process this has to go through. So even if it goes through what I would consider to be the fast track, then it's still going to be like the end of July or the middle of July before it probably gets completed. And so you wait another month for a prospective windmill applicant to come in. I don't think that's going to, if that deters them, they've been deterred already. They wouldn't be waiting in the wings.
Mr. Chairman?
yes, sir.
Help me understand, we have 3,000 and some... 3,250, what's 10 feet? Now, until a text amendment is adopted, which would allow the lower setbacks in those 5 townships.
Yeah, so,
And I understand that might not be done in 90 days, but why do we need a moratorium? We have a setback ordinance in place that prevents windmills from being built there or anywhere else in the county. I mean, I hate, this moratorium's gone on too long. And I know our processes are slow, but this is more than an insurance policy. It's something we need to get off the books. I mean, the entire county is protected from windmill development. And the only windmill development that's ever going to be possible in Livingston County is in those 5 northeast townships. 7, and they got to wait for a text amendment. So
Mr. Chairman, Chuck, do we foresee that zoning text amendment change that's going through the process being done before September?
Well, I think it's a possibility. I mean, July would be the fast track. August may be realistic. It's hard to tell.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Sure. Bam, yeah.
Being I'm here,
With respect to the moratorium, it really has less to do with
Randy,
litigation.
excuse me, use the microphone so the video can pick up.
The question with the moratorium has really less to do with litigation and more with an application for a wind farm. In that if the moratorium is in place, that prevents someone from doing that. The problem that we would have is if we don't pass the moratorium and someone presents or applies for a special use permit, even with our current ordinance, which we all understand is going to make it very hard for a wind farm company to come in place, if we've got that application pending and now we want to go back and make text amendments to this ordinance, that's where the problem is going to come into play. And the hassles that come in with changing an ordinance when there's an application already running through the process, and we all have to be prepared for starting that process all over again. So that's where the moratorium comes in and helps. Yes. Yeah, and I guess that doesn't prevent, we just have to be prepared to go through that process again if somebody does make an application for a special use permit for wind farms. But if the consensus is that we are comfortable with the setbacks that they are, that it's so much that no one's going to apply, then it's not going to be an issue. But the moratorium is more for if the application is made. Yes?
Well, if we did lift the moratorium and someone did come in and apply, presumably it's because they can meet those requirements.
Sure.
So then it shouldn't be a problem for them.
Right. I mean, no, I guess, yes, I can't foresee a situation where a wind farm company or someone along those lines would come in and apply for something knowing that they can't comply with it, unless they're just trying to cause trouble, which is always a possibility.
That's a lot of money to spend.
Yes.
Could there be a case where? Could there be a case where someone would contest the new ordinance that we just put into place?
Yeah, there's always that possibility.
Would the moratorium help that or hurt that or not affect that?
No, that wouldn't, because that ordinance is already in place. What the moratorium, my understanding, the moratorium in place just allows so that applications can't be made. But the ordinance process, the process that we're going through right now, I think something I said at one of the previous county board meetings is we can be sued for anything at any time. And so that's the reality of the situation. So I guess my main concern was just addressing Mr. Fannon's concerns about it, not necessarily litigation, it's more for the application.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Randy.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Them 7 townships, obviously, if they're gonna be okay with 3250, them 7 townships, they're not gonna have a problem going down to 1600. I mean, you're not gonna see a big fight with the wind farm going, oh, wait a minute, we don't want 1600? You know what I mean? I don't see a big fight there. Is that something that you would foresee, or?
Not, it depends. I mean, it's best, and I know that's not an answer you want to hear, but, right. And as of right now, we know that's not the distance. And so that's why people keep saying, and I don't necessarily disagree with the concept of, we don't really have much to worry about, because again, I don't see a wind farm company coming in unless, like Ms. Gerwin said, they're comfortable with those setbacks, but, so, yes.
But if someone were to file an appeal within the 90 days on the existing ordinance, then would we be able to put a moratorium back in place in case that goes sideways?
That I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if Chuck can answer that.
If you want to do that, we have to go through the whole process again, because we've done it as zoning text amendments to date. So it was not my intention at this point in time to start another extension in a month or two, because everybody's getting tired of doing the 90-day extensions. And since there has to be a time period to do the notices and the applications, then you're basically approving one, starting one over, so.
Basically, in 60 days, we'll know if that's going to happen or not.
Yeah.
And so before the end of this extension, that'll be done, and then we'll be done on the 3250 part of it.
That'd be correct, yes.
Right, okay. So there is a benefit then to having the moratorium to get rid of that uncertainty?
There, yes, that would, yeah, sorry. Yes, like I said, if you keep the moratorium in place, that guarantees that no one then files an application, that we get things finalized in the manner which we want them, so.
Thanks, Randy.
Yep.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor,
Yes, we do, huh?
so I think we're ready for a roll call vote. Christie?
Okay. Vieti. Bunning.
No.
Slagle.
No.
Ingalls.
No.
Steichen.
No.
Coleman.
No.
Kestner.
No.
No? Okay. Ritter.
No.
Irwin. Yes. Lovell.
No.
Allen.
No.
Arbogast.
No.
Weller. Harley.
No.
Holt.
I made the motion. I need to vote yes.
Withdraw your
You voted yes.
I don't have a choice.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath.
No.
Weber.
No.
Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Yes. Fannin.
No.
I think it's a no vote.
I think you're right.
Mr. Chairman, also on your desk is a resolution to deny the ZBA's recommendation, and so that would ultimately lift the moratorium, just anticipating that this was going to happen. So if someone would make a motion to approve that resolution.
And then will that be a roll call vote as well?
Yeah.
A motion to lift the ZBA? How's that read?
I believe it's to deny the zoning case ZT 2-17, is that correct, Chuck?
If you voted no, you should vote yes, and if you voted yes, you should.
Carolyn?
What was the final vote? What was the final vote, yeas and nays?
15-6.
It was 6 ayes and 15 nays.
Thank you.
Okay.
So on your desk, the ordinance that approved this actually had the denial application attached to it. There were 2 different ordinances on here. So you're gonna go with the second one now, if someone would so make a motion to approve that, and which would ultimately end the moratorium.
Okay, we need a motion then to approve the denial. Mr. Holt? Is there a second? Jason Bunning? Any discussion?
Let's make sure people know how to vote.
Okay, so this is,
Okay, if you vote yes, you're voting to deny
Yeah.
the moratorium that the ZBA approved.
no, but
Is
I'm
it-
confused now.
Yep, that's what I think. Is that right, Christie or Alina? Okay, so if you vote yes, you're voting to deny. Roll call, please.
Okay, Vieti. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Steichen.
Yes.
Schaefer. Whoops, Coleman.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Irwin.
No.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast. Weller. Carly.
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Mays,
No.
Heath,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Yoder. Bannon,
Yes.
Okay, and I think that passed.
Let her give the tally.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Holt. Now we move on to Highway Committee with Jason Bunning, the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one action item for the board tonight. It is an engineering agreement to provide biannual NBIS bridge inspections for 299 bridges on the road district system. Cost not to exceed $52,593.55. That will come out of the Township Motor Fuel Tax Fund. Clay Metcalf is here if there's any questions. If there is not, I move it.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Vietti. Yes. Bunning,
Yes.
Slagle,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Dyson,
Yes.
Schaefer, Coleman,
Yes.
Kestner,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Kerwin,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Allen. Yes. Arbogast,
Yes.
Weller.
Yes.
Harley,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Heath,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Yoder. Yes. Bannon.
Yes.
That's all I have. Thanks for
Thank
coming,
you.
Clay.
Thank you, Mr. Bunning. We're moving on to Sheriff Jail License Committee with Mr. Kestner, and we do have those additional bills that we took out of the consent agenda. So, Mr. Kestner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go through briefly what our committee did at our meeting. We found out from the probation department's quarterly report that the state of Illinois is 35% behind in their reimbursement to the county for the probation expenses. The chief probation officer stated that he might have 2 openings later this year, and he continues to review legislation that directly impacts his employees and the courts. We had applications for, 5 raffle licenses. The American Cancer Society of Livingston County, the Emmington Community Association, Futures Unlimited, the Fairbury Fair, American Legion Speedway, and the Friends of Falcons. We have a total of 142, give or take a few, inmates housed in our county jail. 39 from the Northern Federal District, 14 from Central District, 36 from Cook County. We also approved a change in the animal control ordinance via an amendment, Chapter 8, Section 28E3. Mr. Fannin might be able to address that, if you would. You want to say anything?
I was daydreaming. What do you,
That amendment that which your committee brought to us to change the animal,
oh,
just briefly.
just briefly, we just wanted some checks and balances in the language of the ordinance, that's all.
Basically, they just inserted that funds there will be determined when it comes to spending them on different items between the sheriff and the Sheriff Jail License Committee. Then we went into executive session and discussed some matters. Didn't vote on anything. Now, regarding the bills, I was could have caught off guard. I didn't know anyone was, again, bringing up bills. And personally, I don't like the way the system we have now in the contract, where it's quite, in my view, not clear enough and tight enough. And that money under uniform allowance, which is allocated to each of the deputies, they've used for basically whatever they want to do. The question is, I think the argument has been that some of this now has come to light that some are using it to buy gun parts, weapons, whatever. Well, that is not specifically abolished by this Section 4 Uniform and Medical Expense paragraph. Personally, I think this has to be addressed in contract negotiations and then in the budget process. But Mr. Mays, do you want to speak a little bit about these bills here?
I was just reading the contract and that, and the thing that came to my mind was apply only to uniforms and other equipment for use while on duty. Last month, the gun parts added up to whole gun, which I would kind of understand that the sheriff should provide an AR-15 in their vehicles. So I kind of thought that this whole gun parts and that are being used outside the scope of while on duty. Like you said, it's probably a contractual thing that needs to be discussed more, and I didn't get any answers at the last meeting, so that's why they're here.
Can I ask John, the bookkeeper? I have some questions for you. Under the, what line item does the sheriff use to purchase county-owned weapons? What would that be under? It's specifically
Generally,
weapons?
there's a supply line that's separate. We have, I guess, sort of two things. We have a uniform, replacement
Right.
medical allowance line, and then there's other lines for other things that for buying equipment in the budget.
And equipment, it doesn't break down under the definition of equipment, a line item for guns, a line item for...
No,
this
we've
and
taken that just general, as a general collection
thing.
of whatever equipment might be required by the sheriff's department.
Okay, and then what, for the purpose of everyone here who are not bankers, what does the open account stand for? How many open accounts, under that heading, open accounts, do we have?
I don't know what you're referring to. I'd have to see it.
Yeah, here. You got a copy there, Bill? Here. It says open account there.
Hey.
Oh, they just got an account.
Diane processes that, would be able to tell us for sure, but I think that basically means that just we pay that on demand. There are no credit terms or a discount.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's all.
And that the account continues open, it's not just a one-time purchase. The county has established credit with that firm in essence.
Now,
and we buy
also,
and we buy supplies.
traditionally here, we get these bills, and we don't have a lot of time to look them over. We look them over, and we vote yes or no. Basically, it's always yes. And then we found out the last meeting that irrespective of how we voted, they're paid, okay? Now, that's only done when the supervisor of whatever department, circuit clerk, county clerk, sheriff, signs off on it, right?
That is correct. We basically are a processing
Right.
unit, I guess I would call it,
Right.
for the county board.
Right.
And that if we have approval by a department head or elected official, then we generally pay that bill unless we have
Yeah.
some, and don't get me wrong, if we were missing a receipt or something like that, we
We
go
should
back and get that
check it out.
in line
Yeah.
to keep everything we want in order for the audit and just good operating procedure. But again, we rely basically on the elected officials and to the department heads and that's the authorization.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Mike?
I understand, and I think most of the board members do, that when we always talk about approving budgets, and really what we're doing is appropriating money to the department. And they then spend that as they see fit. As a county board member, I assume they will spend it in accordance with the line items in the budget. I don't agree that the labor contract and the language about the uniform allowance can be used for virtually anything just by the nature of the beast. It can be used for anything that the sheriff allows it to be used for. Those are policies determined internally. He or his representative have to approve the bills, and then they do get paid, as John said, within the budget. So it's not so much a matter of an FOP contract to me as it is internal policy. Unfortunately, the sheriff's not here to explain his policy on using the uniform allowance. At the last committee meeting, I asked, and back to the point of on duty, if those guns that were there was 2 invoices for gun parts, which in total amounted to an AR-15 semi-automatic weapon, if those were for county use or personal use, and do they remain county property? I won't repeat the answer I got, but it didn't answer the question. I asked the same question tonight. These parts from Brownells, there's 4 invoices, and I don't know enough about guns to know what these things are. Are they for personal weapons or county-owned weapons? I don't know. Sheriff not being here, Chief, can you answer that question?
It doesn't really matter. Mike, let me stop. Mike, it doesn't really matter. The policy was followed. It came under the uniform allotment, and that's policy. If we're going to change that policy, we have to do that through other channels and not do it here tonight. Let's stick to what we got here under the Sheriff Jail License Committee, and we've got, and I don't know what, Ron, you want to take first?
Yeah,
You've got a liquor license application that's first here.
Yes.
Do you want to take it, or do you want to deal with the bill?
Well, let's just do the bills first, then we'll do the liquor. Is that all right?
I'm not okay with it, but I'm not going to fight it here tonight. Okay, is there a motion then?
I'll make
Mr.
a
Chairman, could I,
Okay, Ron, did you make a motion to pay the bills?
Yeah.
could I say something?
So let me get a second.
Okay.
Then you can.
Okay,
Is there a second? Mr. Weller? Now, discussion.
Okay, just make a, I know that these bills are paid, I know that. If you disagree with it, vote no. That's all.
Okay.
You don't have to vote yes.
Is there one
John?
I want to know what that first item is. That AR-15, AR-10, and DI safety selector short / SDA. What is that?
I
didn't ask that.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the Army long enough to know that the safety selector on M16 goes safe, semi-auto?
Right. That's all.
John?
It's safe and on. I don't know what it says, but it's not auto.
John?
Disappears, and I don't know what it is, so I'd like to, I'd kind of like
I
I apologize. I'm not a gun guy, and to read that, I don't know the answer to that question. We'd have to probably bring the armor in to answer that.
John, yo. I'm gonna say that that's probably the ambidextrous, what it uses the safety from both sides, instead of just one side of the gun.
Well, okay, as Bill even said, it doesn't matter. These bills have been paid. You know.
That's me, because
Okay.
I wonder if the individual that has this, if that's what it did, is it legal for him to own the FOIA or have and possess the FOIA on that?
I would hope.
Or his personal
Yeah, I hope our police department employees are following what's the law. You know,
Yeah, I don't know, but I do know that he would not be allowed to have that gun if that's what that did for that. Hence, Captain Glocki would not have signed off on that receipt if that were the case.
It's pretty much, you guys cannot have fully automatic weapons. That's, I think, what he's getting at. Let me state that I think you guys need all the equipment you can. I'm not trying to make your job harder. It's just, I got questions. I know they're not getting answered the way I'd like them to be. I guess, continue talking about them, that's all.
Yeah, that's all. And I guess I'm fine with all the talk up here and all it goes. But then it's like, well, but our sheriff is authorizing this stuff, and you know, we need a better sheriff. And I think that's where this is at. We got people that hate the sheriff and are trying to shed bad light on him, and that's when I guess I take offense.
I don't think anybody said that.
Captain Glocki I'll finish, please. Captain Glocki looked back to 2012, and the red dot site you're talking about is not a night site. It's called a red dot site. It has nothing to do with night vision. And most of the deputies on the department have those because, here again, I don't know guns. I'm going by what I'm told. They allow that officer to be more effective and efficient with that gun. My understanding is a red dot sight is you look through it instead of looking at the iron sights, there's a red dot in there that you line up on your target.
I understand that. I've seen them $544. That's what I was questioning. That's why it popped up to me.
And they're expensive. That's all I can tell you. You know, you go to a police supply store, you pay $100 for a pair of uniform pants. I went to Kohl's and bought these, and I got them on sale for $25. But Kohl's doesn't sell police pants.
I guess another question would be is, you know, these gentlemen are buying these parts for their service guns and that. At what point do you retire or whatever? Do you get all the guns that we've?
Well, you know,
I think that's just a question.
I think I have an understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, but I do not believe so. You know, this clothing and equipment allowance is part of the financial package presented to these guys. So, you know, for example, this shirt I bought last week, I went and paid for this shirt, and I got reimbursed, and I paid income tax on that. I feel like if I pay income tax on that money, it's my money.
Mr. Steichen, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, are you on duty right now?
Am I? Well, yeah, I'm always on duty, actually.
Well, that's where the confusion comes for me, Chief, is I'm reading that while on duty, and I'm seeing these parts and that being used for off-duty.
Yeah, you think I don't wear this to church? Yeah, that's why I pay income tax on it.
May I?
Wait a minute, Mr. Steichen's got the floor next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earl, there's been a few accusations flying here that, you know, about an automatic weapon. It's not illegal to have an automatic weapon for anybody in this room if they have a federal firearms license. Anybody can apply for that. I don't know which of the deputies do have one of those or don't. It really is irrelevant, but it's not illegal to have an automatic weapon.
So you know more than I do about that, but he wouldn't be allowed to carry it on duty.
No. Earl, my question, I guess, would be if this is something that you need or an officer needs for his job, then why isn't there a line item in your budget, in the sheriff's budget, that takes care of this, like a uniform or the gun they carry or anything like that? Why do they have to buy it? Why do they buy it out of their uniform allowance? Why not buy it out of a line item that you have for additional equipment needed by the officers?
Well, when we hire a new deputy, he is equipped. We equip him with the basics, you know, the standard stuff, and we provide, you know, AR-15s to the deputies. Fact is, I don't think that we own enough to provide all of them with deputies, so luckily, some of them have their own. Some of them choose to take the weapon that we give them and modify that and make it better for themselves. Some people like better stuff, nicer stuff. Some people are happy with the basics. Like I said, it's a personal choice for them. That's where that clothing and equipment, section comes in. After we buy that first uniform for them, next year, that's what that's for. Then they buy it themselves after that. I didn't design it. It's been that way forever. There's other ways that other places have done it, but most places I know of, that's kind of how it works. It's worked fine for us up until now.
Well, that's the way it's been negotiated, contract, through the years. I mean, it's been several years, I think, since you've had a clothing allowance. Yes?
We're talking about bills.
I've been ready, John.
Call the question.
Okay. We'll roll call that.
We're on the bills? No, make sure.
We're on those 4 bills, aren't we, Ron? Yes, sir. And we've had a motion and a second.
Yep.
May I just ask, that's not on the agenda. Can we vote on that?
That was brought from the consent agenda.
It was.
Mr. Mays asked for that to be taken out of the consent agenda and be brought to the Sheriff Jail and License Committee.
Sorry, I was confused. I thought it was the other set of bills that we were going to talk about under
We
Sheriff
are.
Jail and License. Apologies.
This one, we're getting through these 4 bills now. And we've got a motion and a second. And so we'll roll call those 4.
Thank you. Vietti,
Yes.
Bunning,
Abstain.
Flagel,
No.
Ingalls,
No.
Dyson,
Abstain.
Coleman,
Yes.
Kestner,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Kerwin, Lovell,
Yes.
Allen. Abstain. Arbogast,
No.
Weller. Yes. Carly,
Yes.
Holt,
No.
Mays,
No.
Heath,
No.
Weber. Yes. Young,
Yes.
Yoder. Bannon,
No.
Okay, Ron.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Okay, there were 11 ayes, 7 nays, and 3 abstained.
Okay, that motion then passed.
Okay.
Now, Ron, do you want to take that $7,000?
Yeah, I guess. I need a motion approval of bill to the attorneys. I'm not real familiar with that 7,124 bill, but it was something that was, Elena, could you speak to that?
All I will say is that a couple of board members asked for it to be removed from the consent agenda. They notified me ahead of time of their intent to do that, and that's why it's listed as an action item. I don't know if those board members want to speak to that themselves.
Yes. That was me, Ron.
All right, and that was paid anyway, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, go ahead.
The history of this is when a elected official, appointed official, any of us, we have an attorney, it's the state's attorney. If there's a conflict and you need a separate attorney, you contact the state's attorney's office to get an outside attorney. That's the way that works. What happened here is that's not what happened, and there was an outside counsel used without approval from the state's attorney.
So just for clarification, was the outside counsel being used for something else and then continued on doing the same service that our state's attorney would have done? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, this bill goes back to December 2015, when we were talking about what we did tonight, splitting the maintenance department. And the sheriff said there was a conflict of interest. We disagreed because we understood that that was his right to do that. There was no dispute that that was his right to separate, just exactly what we talked about tonight. And he got outside of counsel. without approval from the state's attorney. So the bill was never paid by the state's attorney, still hasn't been paid by the state's attorney. It was paid through their bills. And it's paid. It's just a point of bringing to public attention funds being spent that I don't believe was spent wisely.
Okay.
Marty,
Yeah.
the bill, the total bill was $12,715.
Correct.
But we're only approving 7,000?
Correct. You'd have to ask the Sheriff's Department. I don't know why they split it like that.
I mean, is the other 5,000 being paid somewhere else?
Not that we've seen, unless it went out of a fund, a locally held fund by the Sheriff's Department, which is possible.
Or it could have possibly been negotiated.
Could have been.
How did the other 5,000 get paid?
No, I don't.
Did we send it through with approved bills a year and a half ago or something, or?
No.
Earl, can you help out a little bit? There we go.
We're doing our best to manage our budget the best that we can, so we decided to pay half of the bill out of a line item and wait a few months and see how things are going, and then try to get the other half of it paid.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that that be approved.
Okay, motion by Kestner, second by Weller. I think we've had enough discussion, haven't we?
Yep.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Vieti. Bunning.
No.
Slagle.
No.
Ingalls.
No.
Steichen.
Abstain.
Coleman.
No.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
No.
Gerwin. Lovell.
No.
Allen.
No.
Arbogast. No. Weller.
I guess I'm locked in, yes, since I seconded it.
No, second don't have to.
Farley.
No.
Holt.
No.
Mays.
No.
Heath.
No.
Weber.
No.
Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Bannon.
Okay, that passed. So what that means is the board did not approve it, but the bill has been paid. So, okay, Ron, you want to move on?
Yes, a liquor license application for Good Luck Mart and South Streeter. I make a motion that that be approved, please.
There's a motion and a second by Holt. Any discussion? Mrs. Gerwin. I can't hear you.
Is this the one where there was no phone number listed in either place?
I don't know. It used to be the old Casey's place.
I thought I brought it up here.
See if I can find it.
I have their phone number. I think at the time he brought it in, he said that they didn't have the business phone number yet. Because it had been Zeal Mart, and the Patels sold it to them, and his wife is going to be the manager of it. So when he brought the paperwork in, he didn't have a phone hooked up yet, I guess.
And I noticed there wasn't a phone number for the personal or the business, so I just wanted to make sure we did have a phone number for.
No, I do have the phone numbers
Okay.
for them. I
Right.
have their number.
Okay, any other? We got a motion and a second on that.
Yes, we do.
don't we? Okay, we can voice vote that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying- Any opposed, same sign.
Animal
Okay.
control.
Animal control, Mr. Kestner.
As the earlier referred to line change in the animal control ordinance, which you all have in front of you, it just inserts that the Sheriff Jail License Committee will also be involved in the approval of expending of funds from that account in the future. The sheriff would have to come in and say what he wants to use it for, according to the law. And at least we're aware of what's going on. Okay, I'll make a motion for that approval.
Second.
Kestner, Fannin. Any discussion?
Chairman?
Who said chairman?
I did down here.
Okay, Mr.
I
Mays.
think there is a part in there that the sheriff department or the animal control does have up to $5,000 leeway on that.
Right. Thank you for pointing that out, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Carolyn?
I thought we were on the good
I
luck month.
hesitate to bring it up, but, and amends, in the second page, amends Part 1, Chapter 8, Section 8-28, in paragraph B, it looks like there's 2 sub-2s. I think the second one should be a 3.
Alina?
Carolyn, we have all your notes for the typos that are within the document, so if the board would so approve, then we would ask that you approve the document pending final attorney review and approval, and we'll get those corrections made.
Very well, thank you.
May I add, this is an ordinance that Deputy Hardiman and State's Attorney sat down with to vastly improve the spay and neutering program in Livingston County. It seems we're all worried about a spending limit for the sheriff on that, but this is quite a, an amendment, I do believe. So I don't want that to get lost in all this.
Thank you. Okay, what, we got a motion and a second here?
Yeah.
Okay, we need to roll call that.
Bietti,
Yes.
Bunning,
Yes.
Flagel,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Dyson,
No.
Coleman,
Yes.
Hessner,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Gerwin,
Yes.
Lovell,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Arbogast. Yes. Weller,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Heath,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Yoder, and Fannin.
Yes.
Okay,
That is my report, thank you, sir.
thank you, Mr. Kestner. Now moving on to Public Property Committee. Mr. Ingles, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last month, no real significant issues with maintenance of the buildings, but at last week's committee meeting, we did discuss a conversation that Chairman Young brought back to us that he had had with the sheriff and the chief concerning the memorandum of understanding that's in place and the way maintenance, particularly the 2 buildings that are under the sheriff's control by statute, the Law and Justice Center and the jail, was being handled. There's been a level of misunderstanding, discomfort, dissatisfaction with that, and therefore it wasn't on the agenda, so we couldn't take any action, but there was kind of a general agreement that what the 2 parties wanted, and that resulted in a memorandum of understanding that is before you. I would note, if you'll look at that memorandum of understanding, and I'm not going to read it, I'll try to summarize it real quickly. On the 3rd line, it refers to the existing memorandum dated the 11th day of March 2017. That should be May and not March. With that, what this does, this subdivides the Facilities Maintenance Department into 2 units. 1 unit will be under the direction of the sheriff, and those employees will report to the sheriff or his designee, and they will have responsibility for maintenance of the Law and Justice Center and the jail. The other unit will continue to report to the facilities manager and will have responsibility for maintenance and custodial services in both cases, the historic courthouse, Regents Bank building, the health and education building, and the highway building. And in the memorandum, those employees by name or vacancies that exist are spelled out. From a budget standpoint, the salaries or the salaries for each unit will be under those 2 cost centers. The expenses will also remain as per building. In other words, they're separated now, and the rest of it is just kind of an agreement. Really doesn't add much to the memorandum of understanding. With that one change on, well, it's line 3 from March to May, I would, well, Property Committee met in an extended session earlier this evening since we couldn't vote last week, and this was approved by a majority of the members of the Properties Committee. With that, I would make a motion that be adopted by the board.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Weber. Discussion? We're gonna roll call vote it.
Ready? Vieti. Bunning.
Yes.
Flagel.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Dyson.
No.
Schaefer Coleman.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Sherwin. Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
No.
Weller.
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Mays.
No.
Heath.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Yes. Bannon. Five nays.
Okay, motion carried. Anything else, Mr. Ingalls?
Nothing other than thanks to you and everybody from the Sheriff's Department and all that were involved in putting this together. I appreciate that cooperative effort.
Okay, thank you. Administrative Committee, and it says Bob Young, which is going to be turned over to Alina Hartley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In accordance with Part F, Section 1 of the Livingston County Travel Policy, which went into effect on December 1 of last year, I would hereby request approval of travel expenses in excess of the county reimbursement schedule, which requires approval of any lodging expenses in excess of $100 a night, and meal expenses in excess of $9. Within your packets is an outline of the anticipated expenses related to the UCCI Annual Conference in Galena. I will note that there is no charge to attend this conference, and most expenses are reimbursed by the association.
It'll show up as a larger cost than what's allowed, but in actuality, after we get a reimbursement, it's far below.
Correct.
So it's a very inexpensive trip for the county to send board members to. So with that, I'd entertain a motion. Who so moved? Holt and a Coleman second. Sorry, Jason. Any discussion? Okay, we'll roll call vote that too, please, Christie.
Vieti. Bunning.
Yes.
Slagle.
Yeah.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Dyson.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Kestner.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Irwin.
Yes.
Lovell.
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Arbogast.
Yes.
Weller.
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
Holt.
Yes.
Mays.
Yes.
Heath. Weber.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Yoder. Bannon.
Yes.
Okay, with that, we'll go to Mrs. Arbogast, Chairman of the Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Personnel Committee did not meet, so I have no report. However, several weeks ago, we did, Chairman Young, Alina, Linda, and myself, interviews for Linda's position, and we made a decision, and we hired Ginger Harris for Linda's position, and Ginger is here tonight, so.
You want to stand up, Ginger, if you have, or you did, huh?
Did.
Okay, there's Ginger.
And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Election rules and legislation, Marty Fannin, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All my action was handled on the consent agenda, and we had no other business, so that ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Information Technology, Mrs. Allen, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I'd like to tell Kelly how good it was to have her serve as my vice chair on the IT committee, and she's going to be greatly missed. John went over his monthly department report with the committee. He said that the semantic antivirus has been upgraded. He held an interview with the intern that's interested in the summer position, and he said the interview went well. And that ends my report.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Allen. Mr. Station, Veterans Assistance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. we met last week and discussed the budget. We're going to be discussing the budget going forward with the commission. Right now, the bills are, I'm glad to report, very, very low. Seems like we're going to have a pretty good excess carryover again this year, hopefully. That's me knocking on wood. And that is the extent of my report, unless anybody has any questions.
Why don't you just continue with your Recreation Committee?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did not meet yesterday as planned. There's been some new information seemed to be coming forward. I wish Clay was here. I think he already left, regarding the application for the grant, some of the correspondence with IDOT, some of the language in the agreement they sent us is very burdensome on the county. It's going to take a little more attention, and it's potentially a lot of cost going to lay on the county's shoulders. So we're looking at that now. Clay is going to resubmit a proposal, make some changes to what IDOT has proposed, but every change that we make actually is going to hurt the grant process, from what I understand, and it's going to have to be something that's going to be worked out in the committee going forward. Are there any questions?
With that, I also have an announcement that I'd like Mr. Ritter to talk about. It kind of comes in with recreation, so that's why I thought it would fit in here. Mr. Ritter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to kind of give everybody an update on things that have been going in Livingston County with a project that I've had the ability or the opportunity to humbly be a part of. But this week or 2 weeks ago, students from Tri-Point, Prairie Central, and Pontiac traveled to the state capitol, and thanks to our state senator Jason Barrickman and Governor Rauner, were given a proclamation from the governor declaring Chatsworth as the Bluebird capital of Illinois. That said, to go along with that, Senator Barrickman and the governor both praised the work of the students of all three school systems for their hard work in making the Bluebird Trail a reality, with over 300 and some Bluebird houses placed within Livingston County. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention because the students at Tri-Point, with their National Honor Society, the life skills classes at Pontiac and Prairie Central, the Heartland Community College classes, all have really worked hard to Heartland Community College and Pontiac, all worked very hard to make this reality. And so I know that the students from Tri-Point are going to be presenting the proclamation to the mayor of Chatsworth, declaring it the Bluebird capital of Illinois. So I think it's exciting to have Bluebirds back in Livingston County, and taking a stronghold and making our county that much more attractive, not only to the native species, but also to people who just love nature. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, also the grade school kids in Chatsworth, I apologize, I did forget that.
I think as long as you're talking about that, and I may be wrong, and if I am, I apologize, but I think Helen Steidinger and possibly her sister were kind of the originators
Absolutely.
of the project, and it kind of fell on Joe, who's the guy's name over there? Your uncle?
I'm not sure what you're talking about,
Your
Mr.
uncle
Chairman.
over there, this Bluebird?
Yep,
Who's
yep.
that?
But there's one other thing
What's
that...
his name?
Joe Fanaris.
Joe Fanaris.
There's one other thing that Paul neglected. Paul, you want to tell him about the Senate resolution?
So I have also copies of the Senate resolution, again, resolving that the students of Livingston County have made our communities and our county a model for all counties in the state of Illinois. And I'll gladly present that resolution to you, Mr. Chairman, as well as the other communities. We just got that from Senator Barrickman 2 days ago. So,
Okay, thank you. Now, for the final time, and I'm sure it's going to be the best report ever, Kelly Cochran Coleman, Housing.
True, we did not meet. Because of the way the calendar falls, actually, the next meeting is next week. So my final meeting will be next Thursday, May 18th at 1 p.m. at 903 West North Street, the Housing Authority office. But the county board will also need to appoint someone else to represent the county board on the Housing Authority board. Anybody thinking about it, if that remotely appeals to you, I would be happy to talk to you about it, but we will need somebody from here to attend those meetings. So,
Okay.
any questions from anybody?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to receive the report from Ms. Coleman.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that motion and ask for a roll call vote, please.
No, we'll voice vote it. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Okay. Huh?
It was unanimous.
Yeah, it was unanimous. Congratulations, Kelly, again. Public comment. Come on up. When you get down this long walk, if you would state your name and where you're from, we'd appreciate it.
My name is Charlotte Ford, and I live here in Pontiac.
Okay? Thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank Kelly for her service and her wisdom that she has brought to this county board. I would also like to introduce myself and welcome the new board members that were elected and are serving on the Livingston County Board now. If you do not know where I live, I would like to invite you to come out and see our subdivision. I live in the Whispering Oaks subdivision. It has 7 homes, and we are surrounded by the landfill, Enbridge Oil, and very soon the FS fertilizer plant. I am sorry that Monty and I cannot afford to give the county thousands of dollars in donations for the fire department, the police department, or for college scholarships. However, we have lived here for 19 years. Our doctor is here, our dentist is here. We buy our glasses here, our cars are fixed here, we buy our groceries here. We go to the movies, eat out, and go to the Vermilion Players, all here in Livingston County. We pay our taxes. In return, all that we ask is that your decisions as Livingston County board members will keep us in good health and keep our property values high. We are in our 70s and our health is declining, and soon we will need to downsize if we are able to sell our home at fair market value, which is surrounded by unhealthy industries that were not a factor when we moved here. I thank you for your time, and I hope that you will remember our subdivision in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Just one comment. I don't have my finger on the pulse of Pontiac because I live over in Waldo Township. But I just would like to express my disappointment that Pontiac chose to tear down our historic jail.
Okay. Point noted. Thank you, Mr. Yoder. Okay. Whispering Oaks.
Whispering Oaks, yes, you haven't seen me for quite a while. Mark Heil, H-E-I-L. Pontiac, Illinois. Charlotte's my neighbor. There's, like she said, there's 7 of us out there. I'm not going to repeat anything that she said other than please remember the statutes. The county's job is to protect and promote the citizens' safety and health, and well-being and morals, also property values and other concerns. As far as the health concerns go, that can go both physical and mental. I think most of us have had many sleepless nights over the last few years dealing with these projects. One thing I want to talk about is the FS plant. This thing came on board real fast. We didn't hear about any of it until it was on the radio. And I believe it was Bob Russell talking about the plant going up, and then all of a sudden, within a few days, the city was passed, the land was annexed from the county, I believe, to the city, and this thing went through, and we didn't even have a chance to talk about it. So that even though it's in the county, it was annexed into the city. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we had nothing to do with it.
Right, no, I understand that. So, in May of 2014, there was a fire and explosion at the FS plant. Many of you know that. It was in the papers. It was pretty well publicized, and we understand why it's moving out of town. Keep the citizens safe. The plant's location now is a mile to our southwest. Many of the storms that come through come from the south or southwest, and hydrous ammonia to breathe in is a very dangerous product, and it's very corrosive. We could very well see corrosion to a lot of metals on our buildings, on our cars, other things like that. And hydrous ammonia, when it is released into the air, it forms a very heavy cloud, a vapor cloud, that hugs the ground and expands very rapidly. This can cause lung damage, eye damage, caustic burning, many other issues that we're going to have to deal with out there. Very concerned about these things being put out there. District 2 in some areas, like our area, is very quickly becoming an industrial zone. We fear very much for our health and safety with these issues. The sheriff, they have a whole new problem on their hands with the FS plant being put out there at 23 and 55. Why do I say that? Meth labs. Meth and heroin are a big problem in this county and a big problem in the country. You now creating a larger plant, and hopefully there's good security there. We haven't had time to see any of it. But these people coming up and down 55 and going up and down 23 are going to have no problem if it's not secure enough there to tap into this anhydrous ammonia and take it. They take it in 5-gallon buckets, they put it in the back of their cars, and they take off. Before anything's known, that's gone. When will we know? When we start smelling it. I don't personally want to have these caustic issues with things like that. If there's a light breeze coming from the southwest and my windows are open at night and I have to breathe that stuff in, there is no antidote for ammonia poisoning. None. Talk to the fire department about it. Talk to the hospital about it. Oxygen and water, that's about it. We're very worried about this kind of stuff. There's mothers and fathers and grandparents, and there's children out there. There's senior citizens out in my subdivision. We're very concerned about it. I just ask again, they please pay attention to your citizens and the statutes of the county. I appreciate those of you that have talked to us, that have come out and talked to us, 1 or 2 at a time. We welcome any and all of you, the new members, older members that have been on the board for a while. Come back out and talk to us again. Last thing I'd like to say is to Kelly. Kelly, I've met you a couple of years ago, and I haven't had a lot of discussions with you, but the discussions that I have had with you, you're going to be missed. You are a person that truly seems to care about people. That's a rare quality these days. Thank you for your service to this county. You're going to be missed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the...
Very briefly, my name is Tom Ambrose. I'm from south of Fairbury. If I misunderstood anything tonight, I apologize, but my comments are about the AR-15s. I have absolutely no problem with the sheriff or a deputy who feels that they need that type of weaponry to carry out their functions as law enforcement in the county. What I do have a little bit of a problem with is comparing that to a shirt and a pair of pants. When you compare weaponry or weapons parts, there's quite a difference. The red dot sight that we talked about, I think it was $500. Well, that's not unusual. They'll run anywhere from $50 all the way up to $700 plus, depending on the quality of that type of weaponry. So my only concern here is that I have no problem with a deputy or a sheriff who leaves the employee of Livingston County to move on in their career, taking a shirt and a pair of pants with them. I have a great deal of problem with them taking an AR-15 or $500 parts that this county has paid for and moving that on to their new employment or their own personal use. So if that's a policy issue that you need to address, if that's a negotiation with the sheriff's department or with a union that you need to address, I think you need to think that over very carefully, because putting weaponry, parts of weapons in a uniform budget or a clothing budget, very, very different things. So as a taxpayer of Livingston County, they can have their shirt and their pair of pants that I helped paid for, but I don't want them taking that weapon or those weapon parts with them. That stays in Livingston County. Thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session for
Second.
collective negotiation matters. Who moved? Ritter?
Second.
And Gerwin. Okay, all those in favor? Aye? And opposed, same sign?
Roll call.
I got a voice vote that. Okay. Let's do that, Christie.
Vietti. Vietti? Did he leave? Oh, I didn't see you. Bunning?
Yes.
Flagel?
Yes.
Ingalls?
Yes.
Dyson?
No.
Coleman? Kestner?
Yes.
Ritter? Yes. Gerwin? Yes. Lovell?
Yes.
Allen? Arbogast?
Yes.
Weller? Carly? Holt? Mays?
Yes.
Heath? Weber? Young?
Yes.
Yoder? Fannin? Okay. That's
Okay, we'll ask for this room to be cleared, so we